Animal Collective. Nice meeting two of you at least.
Yeah, good to be here.
First question, do you remember what radio shows you were listening to while growing up?
Well, my brother worked for a radio station called B104 in Baltimore, and so that's kind of the earliest one I recall. I definitely remember in between songs and that kind of thing, the radio jingles and that kind of thing had a big effect on me.
What did he do at the radio?
He was a DJ. Eventually, I mean, he started off in high school as a intern, you know, just switching the switches, whatever you do there.
Was it weird to hear your brother on the radio?
Not really. No, I mean, he has that kind of personality, always has. So to me, it was very natural, yeah, to hear him like that.
What did he play?
What kind of music? Just the hits of the time, 80s music, you know, Duran Duran, Madonna, Michael Jackson, that kind of stuff. It's what I grew up listening to.
And what were the radio stars you were really looking forward to hear? Were those the pop stars?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, I loved Michael Jackson when I was growing up. I actually entered a contest through the radio station to try and win tickets to the Jackson 5 show for their Victory album, which came out in like 1985, just after Thriller, I think. And I won. And that was the first show I remember going to see was the Jackson 5 Victory Tour.
In Baltimore?
It was in D.C., which was close enough by. They didn't really have like huge shows in Baltimore, really.
What other radio station were there in Baltimore to listen to?
I didn't grow up in Baltimore. I moved there in high school and met those guys, but when I was there, HFS was the kind of alternative radio station. It's kind of the thing that maybe would have played like Smells Like Teen Spirit first, and then before it went to the mainstream stations, and they played you know, Pavement, you know, sometimes, but mainly like Smashing Pumpkins or Pearl Jam, or, you know, that was sort of the alternative rock thing, which around 92 or 93 was probably the station that kids like us would listen to. And then there was a classic rock one too. GRX, that, you know, stuff my dad would like and I like too. So Boston, bands like that.
What was more dominant in your homes, radio or television?
Probably television in my home. I mean, the radio in growing up was more something you heard in the car, I think, in America. But you know, it's not. I don't think something was like on all the time in my house anyway. But if I had babysitters over, they were always watching MTV. So I remember music from my babysitters in the '80s, and then what my parents listened to in the car was the radio.
Did you consider radio to be a magical thing? Some people say television doesn't have that, and radio has some sort of magic about it.
No. I think, you know, maybe I don't know if people our age say that. Maybe some older, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe because you can't see it. I don't know. But to us, it was ubiquitous from day one. So it's, you know.
I think there's a sonic element to radio that's pretty interesting, just in terms of how it works with traveling and losing signals and gaining signals. You know, TV is so stationary and so much about just switching channels and being very this, whereas radio is this really transitional kind of sound element, and just sonically it's a little bit more interesting. So in that way, maybe it's magical, just in terms of the way it works, I guess. I don't know.
You know why I'm asking, because on your record there is a lot of radio interference sounds. Wherein lies the magic of these sounds? Is that perhaps what you just said?
Yeah. It has to do coming from like a musical background that includes like early electronic music, like maybe academic electronica or contemporary classical compositional music. I think there's a big similarity in radio, in a way, to musique concrète or something like that. And it just happens sort of naturally. It's just a form that isn't set up to be that way, but it is kind of in a way. And a lot of that has to do with time and space and where you are and how you're traveling and what radio station you might be picking up or losing, or it has this different sonic quality that is really cool in itself.
And how does that idea resonate on your record?
I mean, it's inspirational just in terms of the way the sounds go together, and I think we thought of radio and just thought of maybe the idea of sounds traveling through space. And I mean, we always kind of think about how sounds travel and what environment sounds are heard in. And I think because we go from record to record thinking about different spaces of sounds, it was interesting to think of radio as the space for this record.